What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and in this video I'm going to be talking about insurance jobs. Now, if you've never watched my videos before, I used to work in insurance for about 2 years. I started off as an analyst working with premiums, claims. I worked with risk management and things like that, and I was able to move up to a management level position where it allowed me to interact with a lot of the people that work at the jobs that I'm going to be describing here. Now, as for the jobs that I'm going to be describing, these are going to start from the lowest rank, which is going to be like the entry level position, and then I'm also going to be providing the national average salary, and this is based on Indeed. This is a website that gathers this type of information, so the estimates are going to come from there when it comes to the salary information. All right, so the first one is going to be an insurance claims clerk. Okay, so this is the most entry level position. Anyone can get this. Even with a high school degree, you can get this, right? So this is an entry level position, and the average salary is $13.70 per hour. So this is an hourly position. Obviously, since this is entry level, it does not require a lot of education or formal education. Now, what they usually do is they only deal with the claims, right? So think about this, right? You get into an accident and you call your insurance company to make a claim, right? Or if you have to file it online, the person that's going to be looking at that claim is an insurance claims clerk. Okay, so that's their main job, to look at those claims. And sometimes it's even to talk to customers as well, or to even review those documents that you submit. If you get into an accident, you're making a claim, they're going to be the ones that review those documents for accuracy and make sure that it's completed and make sure that it's processed, right? Sometimes they'll even process those claims. Okay, now, the next one is going to be an insurance field inspector. So a lot of people that work in this position are usually independent contractors. You can find jobs online when it comes to this, where you can do it, on the side whenever you're needed. Okay, so the national average salary for this is $17.98. So let's say you're trying to add insurance to a property. What will happen is that you're going to have an insurance field inspector come inspect the property so that they can have enough information to kind of like calculate how much you have to pay, how much premium you have to pay. So this is essentially someone that comes into the field to verify that, the true value of the asset, right? If you get into an accident, let's say your car would get towed to a mechanic, right? Sometimes what the insurance company would do, if you're making a claim, they're going to send a field inspector to assess the damage of the car to make sure that, whenever the mechanic says, well, it's going to cost $5,000, that is the true cost, right? Because it's easy to inflate if the insurance company is paying. So they have those field inspectors to kind of like be the person that's going to be, look at the damage or the property, the value of the property with their own eyes and make an educated assessment. Now, the next one is going to be an insurance investigator. So this is kind of like an upgrade from being a field inspector, right? So if you like being a field inspector, that's an hourly job that you do on the side as a contractor. You can move up to being an insurance investigator. So this is more for full time, and the average pay is going to be around $46,000 per year. And essentially, what they do is going to include what the field inspector does, which is going into the field and investigating things. But there's going to be more responsibility since you are kind of like a full time employee now and you get paid more money. So you're going to be looking into or investigating things like claims to see if people are trying to scam, and you're going to be looking at a lot of paperwork. You're going to be looking at claims, like I said before. Sometimes you might even have to do, if you go into the field, let's say it's an accident, you might have to interview witnesses, right? You might even have to look at cameras, right? Look at security cameras if it's a car and somebody gets in an accident, and then they're trying to figure out who's at fault. The insurance company might have you look at the actual footage and to be able to investigate that. Okay, so this is more of an in-depth, right? So if you are, like I said before, a field inspector, which is kind of like the mild version of this, you are going to be able to just go into the field and make assess the damages or the property value or things like that. But then when you become an investigator, you kind of like come into the office, and now you're able to really look at more information, right? Such as the security footage, or be able to look at paperwork and things like that. Okay, all right, so the next one's going to be a claims examiner. So like I said before, you have a claims clerk, which is the entry level when it comes to claims. Now, you also have a claims examiner, who is someone who kind of like focuses on the legal compliance of things, right? And the average pay for this is around $55,000. So essentially what they do is they look over the work that is submitted by the claims clerk. So the claims clerk is working with the person themselves, right? So if I file a claim, I'm going to be talking to a claims clerk, right? They're the ones that are going to help me process my claim, make sure that the claim is good. So this is kind of like a management level position where you're going to be looking over a lot of the people that are in entry level claims, which are usually going to be clerks. Okay, now the next one is going to be a claims adjuster. So the average pay is around 55,000, kind of like the same as a claims examiner. Now what these people do is that they are the ones that actually adjust the claim, how much is going to be paid off to a claim. All right, so let me give you a good example here. So let's say you get into a car accident, right? And the first thing you do, you have your police report and things like that. And then you file a claim with your insurance company. Let's say it's Geico. You file a claim. Now, what's going to happen is you are going to have a claims clerk that is going to receive your claim and make sure that you filled out the paperwork and follow up with you if you have anything missing. Now, let's say your car gets taken to a mechanic, to a shop, to a body shop, right? Because you can't drive it, so you got towed over there and you can't put it at your property. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to send a field inspector, right? An insurance field inspector to make sure that they assess the damage, take pictures, and send it to the insurance company because the field inspector is working with the insurance company to help them assess the damage. Okay, now once your claim is good to go, it is going to be taken to a claims adjuster, right? So a claims adjuster is going to be the person that's going to adjust how much is paid out, right? So instead of them going to investigate the actual damage and things like that, they're going to have the field inspector do it and report to the claims adjuster. And they're going to use that information in order to adjust the claim itself, right? Because if the maximum you get is $100,000, that does not mean that the insurance company is going to pay you that amount. The adjuster is going to try to minimize that amount as much as they can by adjusting the claims. Now, once the claim is adjusted, they say, they're going to pay out $50,000. They're going to send that information to the claims examiner, which we just described before this. And this is the person that is going to accept or deny the claim. All right, now moving on to the next one. This is going to be an insurance sales agent. So this is the one that a lot of people are familiar with. There's a lot of people that sell insurance. There's even scams of, insurance jobs where you have to sell insurance. But when you go for, a reputable insurance company, that is a big company that has the resources, that is not one of these small companies that try to sell door-to-door insurance, you are going to be making a good amount of money. The average pay is around $57,000 per year. And essentially, this is self-explanatory. You are going to be selling insurance, and sometimes you might even get into, designing and implementing marketing strategies to help, insurance companies sell their new insurance, right? So if you want to go into the back office of this, where you kind of like help them with the marketing, the design, and things like that, you could do that. There's also the person that's actually calling people and trying to sell the insurance. And sometimes it's not always to individual people. Sometimes you're going to be selling it to businesses, right? You got to think of this on a bigger scale, like selling insurance to businesses. All right, so the next one is going to be an insurance appraiser. So this is kind of like similar to the field agent, because their job is to assess the value of something, right? So if you are trying to insure a house or something, maybe a boat or something like that, you are going to have an appraiser that is going to actually appraise the value. So that's why sometimes you see, if you're trying to pay less in property insurance and things like that, you have your property appraised, right? Sometimes maybe the value went down, then you pay less in insurance, or sometimes the value went up, right? And you pay more property taxes. So these appraisers essentially just help assess the current value of an asset, okay? And the average pay is around $60,000 a year. All right, so the next one is going to be an insurance broker. And the average pay for this is around $67,000 a year. Now, this is leaning more towards risk management, right? So it's essentially what they do is that they connect individuals or companies to insurance policies, right? So let's say I own a business, right? And I'm trying to get insurance that covers, let's say, the property, maybe the employees as well, and a bunch of things. Now, I don't have time to, educate myself on the different policies and which ones are good, which ones are bad, and how much risk do I put myself in, how much is the business. Like, that is a lot of information that a lot of businesses do not want to deal with. So they'll go to what's called an insurance broker. This is a firm or maybe a third party person, administrator, a company that specializes in understanding these insurance policies and the risk that they come with. So my company will go to a broker who's gonna be able to kind of like find me all the insurances that I want or the best ones, kind of like and also explain the potential risk and the policies that can, and some of the things that can minimize those risks as well. So sometimes you have brokers that specialize in specific insurance, maybe it's life insurance, or they specialize in a lot of things, but you have some general brokers that have kind of like they understand all types of insurance, but for the most part, you are going to find brokers that only focus on a few types of insurances because that's what they specialize in. Now, the next one is going to be a financial analyst, which is what I started off as when I was working in insurance. The average pay is around $71,000 per year. And essentially what financial analysts do for insurance companies, it is a lot of things, right? You might be working with premiums, doing premium projections, which is essentially how much are we going to make from the premium that's coming in? What can we average for the entire year over the next 2 years based on the clients we have and how much premiums they're paying us? You can also look into claims, which is essentially the expenses, right? You can look into, it's a lot of things that go into being a financial analyst. You're going to be working with, it's the same thing that you would do for another business, but it's related to insurance, right? Instead of working with other things, you're going to be working with the claims, premiums, sometimes you're going to be working with, creating cost structures. Sometimes you're working on a bunch of reports for clients. They request like specific reports. They want to understand how much premium have we paid for this employee or for this or for this, for this. You're going to be working on a lot of those reports, as well as budgeting as well. If you are trying to make sure that, the account doesn't go negative, you should be able to project how many claims are going to be paid out every month versus how much premium is going to be coming in. All right, so the next one is also going to be related to risk management, which is going to be a loss control analyst or maybe a consultant or a manager. But essentially, you're trying to prevent the company from losing money, right? And the average pay for this is around $76,000 per year. So essentially what they do is that they look at the business's safety and loss risks. So sometimes think about this, right? Let's say a company has $100,000 in their premiums account that they are going to collect for the entire year from this client, right? Because if you want to look at premiums, it's a set amount, right? Think about your car policy, right? Maybe you sign a contract for 6 months every time you renew, and you have a specific dollar amount that you pay every single month. So this makes it easy for the financial analyst on the insurance company to be able to estimate how much they are going to be make, for the duration of that contract, right? All right, so let's say that the insurance company is expecting to receive $100,000 worth of premium for the entire year. So this means that the company can only pay out $100,000 before they start taking a loss, okay? If they pay anything more than $100,000, they are going to be at a loss. They're going to be operating at a negative. So what a loss control analyst is going to be able to do is going to be, maybe conduct risk assessment, kind of like make sure that you're not going to be at any risk of going into the negative, right? So let's use the same company that is going to receive $100,000 worth of premiums for the entire year, right? And let's say the financial analyst estimates that the claims that are going to be coming in are going to be $20,000 for the year, right? So now they can easily pay off the $20,000 in claims, right, without going into the negative. Matter of fact, they're going to make a lot of money, a lot of profit whenever they pay off all the expenses, okay? Now, let's say, a mistake happened and they took on a client that has a policy that allows the client to be paid off $1 million in claims if something happened, and that thing happens. Now this client makes the claim, right? Now the insurance company has to pay the client $1 million, right? Because that's what the client was paying into. But then the insurance company is expecting to receive $100,000 in claims, right? Now they have to pay $1 million. Now they're in the hole. So that is why loss control analysts or consultants are important. All right, so the next one is going to be an actuary, and the average pay for this is around $115,000 per year. And this requires a lot of certifications. I know this because my brother's an actuary. And this is kind of like, it leans onto the risk management path of insurance, right? So what an actuary is going to do is that they are going to be the ones that are building the entire framework of the policies, right? So these policies are going to be built on, kind of like, assessing the risk and making sure that if anything happens, right? If any type of thing happen that makes the insurance company pay out some money, the company is going to be in good standing. So that's what actuaries do. And this also include developing risk prevention policies that help minimize, minimize a lot of risk as well. And sometimes they work as advisors because they are going to be, helping assist a company make financial decisions, right? An insurance company, because, all the money that an insurance company gets comes from the premium, right? So you need actuaries to help you make financial decisions. If you're trying to do a discount, right? Let's say for our employees, we're going to lower the price of insurance. Actuaries were involved in that process, or maybe they want to increase the price, right? Actuaries are going to be involved in that process. So let's say an insurance company wants to offer a new product or insurance policy. Actuaries are going to be able to be involved in that process, determining if how risky it is and how the company can make money from it and how the company cannot lose money from it, right? All right, so let's say an actuary analyst designs a system, and one of their rules is do not take on clients that can be paid up to $1 million, right? It is going to be the job of the loss control analyst that we just described before the actuary to evaluate the business itself, right? Now, if you ever think about, if you're trying to get a life insurance and then they ask you all this health information, and the more sick you are, the more you are going to be paying in insurance because you're more likely to die. Now, this is the doing of actuaries, right? They kind of like assess all of that, and that is to maximize the profit of the business, right? And this is connected to loss control analysts because they kind of like follow the rules that the actuaries set, okay? Now, moving on to the next one, which is kind of like, the manager position. This is a risk manager position. Obviously, this is not an entry-level position. The average pay for this is around $118,000. Now, the risk manager is essentially going to be working with everyone that is involved in the risk process, right? We're talking about the actuaries we just described. We're talking about the loss control analysts. We're talking about financial analysts. We're talking about insurance brokers. You have risk managers. That is one of the biggest things in insurance is risk management, because if you don't manage your risk, you end up losing a lot of money. It's so easy to lose a lot of money. So as a manager, you're going to be overseeing a lot of these people that work in risk related positions. It might be specific to, maybe overlooking the actuaries or maybe overlooking the loss control analysts. All right, so moving on to the last one, which is going to be an insurance underwriter. And this is similar to being an actuary, except this is client facing. So what insurance underwriters do is that they mainly focus on premiums, and they are going to be recommending how much premium a business has to pay to the insurance company based on the risk that they have. So they assess the risk of the company. They say, "Oh, this company is too risky. They're likely to file a claim in the next 2 years, the next month or so. So we should charge them higher so that we're gonna be able to recoup, right? So they are gonna collect more than they have to pay out. That's the goal. So now the main difference between an insurance underwriter and an actuary is that an actuary works with the company itself, with the insurance company itself, right? They're trying to maximize profit, so they design a lot of systems and policies, and they put rules to certain policies in order to minimize risk. Now, an underwriter is going to be client facing. They're dealing with the clients themselves, and they're assessing the risk, right? Let's say an actuary says, if we can't work with companies that do this, and that, right? So an underwriter is going to be able to look for those things because they're client facing and recommend the premium. So an actuary might say, well, if a company has this much risk, we charge them this much premium per month. If they have this risk, we charge them this much premium per month. And an underwriter is going to be looking for those things, and they are going to recommend the appropriate premiums for that client based on the risk that they have. Now, so that is pretty much it when it comes to the jobs in insurance. Like I said before, I've worked with a lot of these people before. When I was working in insurance, I've been exposed to them and I've seen exactly what they do. All right, so if you forget everything else in this video, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that when it comes to insurance, it is risk management. So if you want to get paid more money, you move on to the risk management side of things. Now, if you look at the low paying positions that we started off with, such as claims clerk, field inspector, investigator, a bunch of claims jobs. Now, these are jobs that deal with, kind of like paperwork, things that are straightforward, right? Kind of like following the rules that are created on the risk management side. And as we went on with this, you went into the actuaries, the risk managers, the underwriters, the loss control analysts. These are jobs that pay you a lot of money, and they're all related to risk. So insurance, if you want to get paid more money, you have to move on to the risk side of things, right? The side where you're actually the one that is assessing the risk, the one that is setting those rules in order to minimize the risk. That is how you get paid a lot of money in insurance. Now, how do you get there? You don't really need a lot of education for the most part. Insurance is pretty much like, how much you're able to accomplish. If you are a smart person that's able to figure things out and be analytical and, hardworking, you will get there. You don't need crazy education or even a college degree. I've met some people that were, underwriters that did not even have college degrees. All they had was a lot of experience from other firms and things like that. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know if I missed anything. If you want to add anything else to this, let me know in the comment section below. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.